Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright, people. Morning after Tyson Fury, Dillian White. We're going to do a little stream this evening. Hopefully, it's a little bit more secure than the last one was. I don't know what was wrong with that one. But about 7:30 today, we're going to do it. But I want to talk about something completely different. On that card, we had Frank Warren. So he basically made an announcement that Joseph Parker will fight Joyce next. But he didn't give any specific date. I think that fight it looks done. I mean, it's essentially just a case of waiting for a venue and date. The reason I think he didn't give a time and date, he said July. I reckon he's wondering when Fight Camp is going to go on, or if Boxer are going to have any big shows on. Maybe Eubank versus Kell Brook, because that seems to be pretty much a done deal. I don't like it when promoters do this. Warren's done it, Shalom's done it, Hearn's done it, where they've put shows on the same time as another show. It's going to happen in May. Obviously, you've got the Demetrius Andre fight in Pride Park with Zach Parker going up against Joshua Boazzi versus Craig Richards. I don't like it. It takes away from the fighters, I think, because it's just it would do this. You're going to take away fans. I don't like it. I think it's a big ego thing from promoters, and it's not just Eddie Hearn who's done it. Frank Warren's done it. Shalom did it I forget which fight he did it with. I think he did it with Riakporhe, his last fight, which no one even knew was on, because I think that went up against I can't remember, but it went up against the card anyway. I don't like it. So I'd say that's what Warren's waiting for. He's waiting to just get an idea of what's going to be on, who's going to be fighting then, so we can have a standalone. I suspect that won't be on standard BT Sport. In fact, I'd be very surprised if it is. I reckon that's going to be a pay-per-view, because Parker pay-per-viewed with Chisora. Now, Chisora, they were able to get away with that. Chisora is still a reasonably big enough name. He's more a name in London, like they love him there, but he's still known to the public in the UK. So Parker's profile has been building here in the UK, and Joyce, you'd think he'd have a bigger profile than he does, Olympic silver medalist and all that, but Joyce, he's not got the most endearing personality. Like, he seems like a cool guy, Joyce, but he's not very, there's not much charisma. You see him in interviews, that's why he has Sam Jones there, to kind of add a little bit of something to the interviews. You saw that from the start. So I reckon still, nevertheless, they'll put that on pay-per-view. In terms of the fight, Joyce versus Joe Parker, I reckon they'll probably put the interim WBO title on the line, because both guys are highly ranked. So that will basically mean the winner of that fights for a world title next, whoever that may be. If Tyson Fury is on about retirement, this could be a world title shot. If Tyson Fury is on about, he's got the WBC. But let's just say Usyk beats AJ, and some of them belts get scattered. He fights Fury retires, the winner retires, Usyk those belts could get scattered, so they could end up fighting themselves elevated to full champion. But nevertheless, this fight, it's interesting. It's very interesting. Joyce, Joe Parker. You see, Joyce is, whenever I've had friends watch Joyce who wouldn't have seen him as an amateur, a good example would be when he fought Dubois. The average fan would look at Joyce and they said, like, this guy looks terrible. His footwork's all over the place. He's slow. He looks a bit raw. And I said, yeah, that's how he always fights. You'd never think he was a silver medalist in the Olympics. But for some reason, don't ask me how, it works for him. And he has a good jab. He's got a very good jab, Joyce. And when he wants to be, you see, he does take some shots. He does. But if you look against Dubois, he really made sure to kind of minimise the amount of right hands that he'd be taking from Dubois with the jab. He wasn't like, obviously, Floyd Mayweather in there in terms of defence, but he obviously knew Dubois wasn't feather-fisted, and he's not feather-fisted. So he's obviously a bit more cognizant about what shots he worked with. He knew he could really kind of dominate that fight with the jab, so he stuck at that. No need to take unnecessary risks and take a big right hand off Dubois. So when he wants to, he can, be a little bit more defensively minded than I think we give him credit for. I mean, he's known as the juggernaut, the guy who just comes for it, and he's a huge man. I mean, Joyce, Jesus Christ. he's what, 6'6", he's solid 260. You just need to lift weights to get to that. Like, so this is a tremendously strong man, and he'll be the stronger of the two in there with Parker. Parker is not the most physical, and I think that he's going to be in for a shock when he gets in there with Joe Joyce, just how strong Joe Joyce is. But at the same time, I think that Joe Joyce is going to be in for a shock with how explosive and fast Joe Parker is. I could see this fight going very well. I can see the styles actually gelling quite well together. If Joe Parker, he's had more time with Andy Lee. The first Chisora fight, we really can't read too much into that because he only had about 5 or 6 weeks to train with Andy Lee. Obviously, the second fight still lacked a bit of that killer instinct, but he definitely looked he looked more like the Joe Parker I kind of knew was always there. If you know what I mean, he has all the ability. He's got all the attributes. He just doesn't seem to be able to put it together. He's starting to get to that now. He's starting to put it together. I do wonder, would he maybe have needed another fight, just maybe a bit level below Joe Joyce before going in there? It's going to be a case of, is Joe Joyce going to be able to get his jab set up early on? And because believe you me, if he just pops that jab, Joe Parker's in for all types of trouble. But at the same time, will Joe Joyce, if Joe Parker can get around that jab, he is going to absolutely light Joe Joyce up with combinations. Because Parker's a tremendous combination puncher. His hand speed is still very, very good. His foot speed now in the 250s. It's not... I put it like this. I've seen his foot speed look worse when he was in the 240s because he was a bit more fleshy then. He's put on a bit more muscle now. So his foot speed's alright, but his hand speed is tremendous. And when he lets them combinations go, it's very explosive. I can see this fight going very well. I can see this working out a treat. Both guys' styles. I think we're in for a good fight there. Joe Parker, Joe Joyce. Who do I have? That's a good question. Gun to my head, I'd probably edge Joe Joyce, maybe slightly. But nevertheless, it's a fantastic fight. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think about this? When do you think we're going to get it? And where do you think it's going to be? I reckon it's more likely they're going to try and do it in the O2, somewhere like that. O2 or up in Manchester. Maybe up in Manchester with, Parker being based up there. He could have, obviously, Team Fury. Team Fury will be in attendance with that. We know that. So, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know yours in the comment section. Hope you liked the video, lads and lassies. Smash the like button if you did. Subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. I'll talk to you people. Talk to you this evening.